Process modeling is one of the most widely used set of techniques during requirements elicitation and development. This is one of the techniques mentioned in BABOK. If you are studying or preparing for any of the IIBA certifications like CBAP, CCBA or ECBA, process modeling is one of the important chapters for you. It's important to clarify that process modeling itself is not a technique, but is rather a generic name which is given to any of the techniques which is used for process modeling. It could be a flowchart or an activity diagram, or it could be any other technique as we are going to discuss later in the chapter. So what's the agenda? I'm going to discuss about what is process modeling, which are the different process models and notations which are used in the industry, which are the key elements of process models, the uses of it, and the strengths and limitations of process modeling. Let's start with what is process modeling. Process modeling is a visual modeling technique for showing the steps of achieving a goal in a sequential manner. Process modeling also has the capability of showing scenarios which you can encounter while executing a process. Consider the account opening process in a bank. The steps for account opening are like entering the personal details, verification of the OTP, and so on and so forth. You can also show the scenarios in this account opening process. One of the scenarios is when an OTP is sent to a mobile number and when you enter the OTP. The scenarios could be when you enter the OTP correctly or when you don't enter the OTP correctly. So the system must be aware of how to react in both these situations. These different scenarios or situations are an integral part of any process model and an important consideration for any software process implementation. By having these capabilities of showing steps, scenarios, makes the process modeling as one of the most powerful techniques in the software development domain. As mentioned earlier, process modeling is used to refer to a set of techniques with similar capabilities. Let's look at these specific process modeling techniques. First one is flowcharts and value stream mapping. This is used to model processes for businesses and to be shared with the business stakeholders. Data flow diagrams and UML diagrams are used in a lot of information technology projects or any kind of a software project, and it suits the specific requirements of IT projects. Then we have business process model and notation, also known as BPMN. This set of notations and diagrams can be used both for business domains as well as for information technology domains. Then comes the IDEF and IGOE diagrams. This is used for establishing the scope of work. This is a more high level notations which can be used for mapping the processes. Then comes SIPOC or SIPOC and value stream analysis. This is used for process modeling for any kind of situations, but mostly in the industrial scenarios. Let's look at some of the types of these process models. Number one is a flowchart. This is commonly used for non-technical or business users. It helps to gain alignment with actual process and context for a solution. It is mostly displayed using sequence of activities or can be showing activities carried out by a role which is shown in a swim lane. So swim lanes are basically parallel paths demonstrating the activities performed by a particular role in the process. So next one is Business Process Model and Notation or BPMN. It provides an industry standard language for modeling business processes in a form that is accessible by both the business users as well as by the technical developers. It covers internal processes and collaborative processes where multiple processes can collaborate with each other to achieve a particular goal. The key feature of BPMN is to distinguish activities of different participants in process or in the process with pools and swim lanes. So the concept of dividing the activities amongst the users and in the swim lanes is common across all the process modeling techniques, as you will also see in the next process model, which is activity diagrams. It is commonly used with technical audiences. It uses UML notations and is also known as use case realization diagram. It is typically applicable to a single use case, but can also cover processes across multiple use cases. Activity diagrams also use swim lanes. So where do we use the process models? So process models can be used for strategy analysis, where we are studying the current or the as is process model or the to be process model. This process modeling techniques help in mapping the current state processes as well as the future state processes. By using these two diagrams, we can conduct the gap analysis, or we can estimate and assess the changes which are supposed to be done to transition an organization from the current state to the future state. And it can also be used, or the process model can also be used to map a process which is to be automated. It can be an improvement on the previous process as we discussed earlier, or it could be simply converting a manual process to an automated process. Another use of process modeling is to create process diagrams and then conduct process analysis to optimize the processes. Finally, let's come to the strengths and limitations of process models. Process models are very easy to understand technique, and so it is suitable to be used by business users, technical users, and even non-technical users. It's a powerful technique which can help us in modeling various aspects of a process in a visual way. And as you know, visual models are always easy to understand for everyone. However, the downside of creating a process diagram is to not allow it to become too complex, as you can see on the screen. A complex process model can be self-defeating, as it does not serve the purpose of being simple and easy to understand. So if the process model which you are creating becomes too complex, try and break it down so that it becomes easy to comprehend. Next up, we are going to take up a case study on process modeling.